All right, this is the Woodstock sales meeting on Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. And I am going to throw it over to Kim and Karlene to get us started. All right, Kim and Karlene, you guys are unmuted.
Okay, good morning. This is only my second Zoom, so I don't really know how this works really good, but so far it seems to be really doing the job. But I always try to bring something of value every time we have a meeting. So today what I want to talk to you about real quickly is voting. A lot of you, or at least everyone, should have received from the Secretary of State an absentee ballot. Now that is to be used if you don't feel safe going to the polls on June 9th, or if you're going to be out of town or something. If you want to vote, what you received in the mail was an application. You have to send that back to get the ballot for your state, for your county. Okay. Now the reason this is important, because I've been making a lot of phone calls for the Georgia Republican Party, and they are indicating that because we don't know what's going to happen with this virus, like Georgia, was one of the first states to open back up. If by June 9th, there has been an upturn in people being affected, there is a possibility. Now, I'm not saying this is a total, but there's a possibility that they will look at the absentee ballots. They're going to, there is definitely a plan on June 9th to open the polls, because I have been screamed at and talking to people. Terry told me, this was kind of funny when I was making calls. Terry, I made this phone call and introduced myself and said I'd like, to know if you'd do a survey. And then this lady went, "I hate you people, and don't you ever call me again." And so Terry, when I hung up, and I said, "God bless you, ma'am, thank you anyway." And when I hung up, Terry said, "Well, that job you got wouldn't be too good for somebody soft-hearted." So anyway, the main thing is, in my point in telling you this, is voting is obviously the bedrock of our republic in terms of us, being able to influence the laws in which we live by. So please, please, please plan to either go to the polls. There will be early voting, as far as we know. There'll be early voting on June 9th. And before June 9th, there'll be early voting, and the actual time we will vote will be June 9th. This is because we didn't have our primary. And the reason I want to, definitely address this is I've had a lot of people go, "Oh, I'm just going to vote in November." Well, a lot of people, all they care about is the president and the senator and whatever. But if you care about your local government, you really, really have to, the primary is what decides who's going to move forward in November in your county elections as well. So I just want to point that out to you. So, hopefully you're going to go in person and vote, but if not, please fill out your absentee application so you can get a ballot so you can vote. Okay. So I'm hoping, I'll let Kim address this, but I'm really hoping that by June that we'll be able, because we're the third Tuesday, that we'll be able to have our meeting. I hope so, in person. But anyway, here is Kim. Do you want to address anything?
No, I'm good. I'm a little bit lonely here at the office. Andrew, I think he's tired of talking to me. So, but hopefully we'll be able to have our meeting in June, and we can get everybody back in the office, and we can actually see people not in squares.
Mm-hmm.
So, done.
So I think that's it for us. Like I said, we'll be talking to Dana to find out what the plan is as far as us being able to have a meeting here at the office in June.
So I'm just going to say a couple of things before we turn it over to our awesome lender and attorney. We are having everything virtual through May. So that's the sales meetings, the CE classes. Regarding what we're going to do in June, the Governor Kemp's executive order, he changed a lot of things that did end on April 30th. However, the state of emergency for Georgia is still in place through May 13th. And that is includes the social distancing, so forth and so on. Now that is staying in place for the elderly or medically fragile But we are going to have to wait and see if Governor Kemp does extend that or not. I don't think he's going to, but we'll have to wait and see. So regarding June, we're going to wait and see a little bit further on in May what we're going to do. Right now, it does look like we are going to have meetings back in branches. But again, I'm not sure right now what's going on. So wait and see on that. I think we will still continue to do many classes, CE classes via Zoom. We're having a really good response, and we are also getting to just having a really good reach and being able to get information out and train agents who wouldn't otherwise get the information in the classes. Just so you guys know, for the CE classes, you must register in advance, because in that registration process, we get your CE, your real estate license number, your email address, your phone number, so forth and so on. But for meetings like this, there's just a Zoom link that you can click onto. The calendar, you can always, the Zoom links are on the calendar. Some of the CE classes I am hosting and teaching. Some of the other ones, we've got other instructors that are hosting them and teaching them. So I don't have back-end access to their registration links, but you can get any of the links. They're all on Sunday's emails. And if you go to register for RE, as in realestateclasses.com, then click Woodstock, that will take you to the greater Atlanta and the corporate calendar, and you'll see all the virtual CE classes there. So for the rest of this week, tomorrow, we have a class at 10 a.m. on how to legally and ethically manage your Facebook page, taught by Shanna Wetterhan, who is a real estate social media guru, so to speak. And actually, Howard Brummel is the one who introduced me to Shantha a few years ago. And then, and I know John's going to talk a little bit more about this, tomorrow afternoon from 1:30 to 2:30 is a really fabulous workshop. It's just an hour-long workshop presentation by John and Tim Davis, who is a nationally known guru on agent branding for real estate agents as well as for mortgage lenders. If any of y'all came to that iBuyer conference, Tim is the one that wore that multicolored blazer. And so the workshop that he and John are doing tomorrow is building your personal brand in a pandemic. It will definitely be informative as well as entertaining. And then Thursday, I am teaching at 9:30 a.m. the 2020 GAR contract dissection. Now, the classes that I have taught December through tomorrow is the 2020 GAR contract changes, where all I spoke about were the changes from 2019 to 2020. This class, this is the first time I'm offering it, is tomorrow, as Thursday. This is actually going through the GAR contract. It's not line by line, but it's going through the whole thing conceptually. But it is a different course number, so you will get 3 hours CE, even if you took one of my GAR classes the past couple of months. And then on Friday, our franchise down in McDonough, they are teaching a virtual class at 9:30 on staging, fast top dollar home sales with staging. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. Also, just a couple of things. A lot of you, well, some of y'all are applying for some of the assistance out there during this COVID-19 issues. If you guys are applying for unemployment, please remember you are not an employee of Maximum One. You are considered a gig worker. And if you have any questions about the application, please contact Ann Kubat, because if we get an unemployment notice from the Georgia Department of Labor, we have to respond to it, and we just respond stating that you're not an employee. But there is a charge for having to fill out those legal papers that we add onto your agent billing. So please contact Ann Kubat. We're looking in to see, because we know there is you should put self-employed on there if you are doing the unemployment route. There's all kinds of other small business loans and so forth and so on. But please communicate with us prior to us just getting one of those Department of Labor forms. Additionally, you guys, this is a great market. Buyers, I mean, it's great relative to what we are. There's still buyers and sellers out there that need your assistance and are buying and selling. Couple other things regarding the COVID-19. GAR has a new special stip that, again, I discussed in the Sunday email. It doesn't have protection for a lot of your buyers that are being furloughed or losing their jobs. We came across support, an agent looking to write their own force majeure clause. There are potential legal issues with that. Bottom line, one of the two things to do to try and protect your buyer based on what's going on specifically with respect to their jobs. Number one is extend, and again, nothing, everything has to be negotiated between a buyer and seller. But number one strategy, extend a buyer's, when you go under contract, put the financing contingency for a buyer through the whole contract so that a buyer can terminate if they get turned down for financing without penalty, and have that, try and extend that time frame out as long as possible through the end of the contract would be great. I don't know if every seller is going to go for it or not. The other thing is to add a special stipulation that should all of the contingencies expire and a buyer loses his or her job or is furloughed and is unable to get financed for that reason, go ahead and write it in the contract as you go binding that if the buyer must terminate for that reason outside of all contingencies, then the buyer is to get back whatever, 50% of the earnest money, and the seller is to get 50% of the earnest money. In other words, pre-negotiate the disbursement of the earnest money in advance for a specific reason. So if anybody has any specific questions about that, feel free to contact me. And that's about it. Karlene, who would you guys?
Maybe going to, well, we can do Andrew last. How are we going to do Andrew?
Yeah, we'll do Andrew last.
Okay, we'll do Andrew last. So let's go to Christina because I noticed that John.Bohannon has stepped away. So we will go to Christina now.
Christina, I just unmuted you.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks so much for inviting us to your sales meeting. Appreciate being here. Just had a couple of things I wanted to throw out. First, Dana mentioned the state of emergency being through May 13th, and there are a lot of orders out there, and it's kind of hard to keep track of the different ones. But the state of emergency is actually through June 12th. Certain things do expire May 13th. But the good news about the state of emergency being extended through June 12th is we can continue to do video conferencing so long as the state of emergency is in place. So when that expires, we will not have the option to do video conference closings any longer. They'll have to go back to you've got to be in the presence of a witness and a notary at the time that you're signing. So we have at least until June 12th. If you have any clients who, for whatever reason, need to do their closing by video conference, that's still an option out there. I also wanted to talk about other closing options, same as what I discussed before. I know we're getting calls from agents asking if they're able to come to closing. We don't have a rule that says no agents at closing. We're letting people kind of make that determination based on their own clients, their health issues, the agent's comfort with that. We're trying to encourage people to, maintain distance, and as long as we're able to keep some distance in the conference room and not have it too crowded, we are letting agents attend closing. And in fact, we miss not having you there because we do love to see you. But we're still doing curbside closings, like I said, video closings, some options for mail away of documents if the people are able to find a witness and a notary. So just trying to be as flexible as we can to meet your needs and your clients' needs. In closing, I'm opting to wear a mask. I'm exposed to a lot of people. I'm closing for paramedics and firefighters and respiratory therapists and people working in hospitals, and they're being cautious as well for the most part, but I want to be certain that I am not a vector for this to any of our beloved clients and agents. So if you see me with a mask, that's why I'm wearing it. I'm not scared of being in closing with anyone or freaked out. I'm trying to do what I can to keep everyone safe. And you're welcome to wear a mask or not to. Your call. We do have masks here if anyone would like to wear one and you don't have one. We've got some disposable. So One last thing I wanted to throw out there. We are doing Whiskey Wine Woodstock virtually. And so that's going to be this Friday. Yeah, I should have checked the time, but it's usually around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And we are posting some things to social media, and we'll have details in an email. If you will email us at zoomstockinfo@gmail.com. So instead of Woodstock, it's zoomstockinfo@gmail.com. And then you'll get a reply with all the login information, time and whatnot. If you need any supplies for your happy hour, we do have some whiskey shots and some wine and some of our swag here in the office. If you wanted to swing by and say hello, just use the code phrase, "I'm here for my vaccine," and we will give you your vaccine, the best medicine we have anyway. And you can enjoy that while you join us on our virtual happy hour. We'll have some prizes and games and things going on, and hopefully it's going to be a good time. I'd like to see y'all there. And that's all I got.
Christina, could you talk a little bit about with that Georgia, the state Supreme Court extending the through June 12th, that there's no basically civil litigation other than bond hearings and child endangerment. Explain to our agents how that affects any of their clients regarding anybody that has a lease and potentially filing a writ of dispossessory, any of our clients that are in the middle of divorce proceedings, and how that would interact with a contract and things like that. Delays in the civil courts.
So as best I know, and I'm not completely up to speed on each county and what they're doing with their civil courts, there are still matters that are being heard by the courts, a lot fewer. You can still do evictions in some cases, but it depends on, as the landlord, what kind of property it is, what kind of tenant, and what kind of mortgage you have. So that's kind of a case-by-case basis. But there's not been a complete moratorium on any kind of eviction or any kind of foreclosure. Foreclosures have not been stopped for a lot of people. Again, depends on the type of loan you have. Federally insured ones, there are some restrictions, but there are plenty of lenders who are still proceeding with foreclosures. But here in Georgia, if there is a concern amongst litigators that people won't show up to the auctions, and that borrowers could use that as an argument to say the bidding was chilled, the foreclosure sale needs to be set aside. So some lenders are simply opting to give more time and wait until things are more open, to avoid any litigation that might be raised about the fact that people were feeling like they had to stay at home. The state of emergency ending June 12th. So I think that would be a point at which we will start to see some things opening up and changing, but June 12th could get extended further because there are a lot of reasons to maintain that state of emergency, financial reasons, certain things that the governor is able to do as long as we're under a state of emergency that he otherwise can't do. So even if things are looking up, I wouldn't be surprised if there could be an extension just to allow the governor to continue with some of the things that he feels our state needs. As far as the video conference and video closings, the state Supreme Court tied their temporary order that allows us to not be physically present with people during their closing. They tied that to the state of emergency. So as long as it gets extended by the governor, then the judicial order gets extended with that. and the governor's order allowing recording of remotely signed documents, that also is tied to his state of emergency order. So they all kind of go hand in hand. And that's really the one that we're paying attention to in terms of documents, is that order. Now, if he were to let that expire and issue a new order, that could require us to check and see if we're still covered under the judicial order. Did that get extended as well? So anyway, for right now, we are still doing video closings. We are letting people know, though, that if your closing is going to be after June 12th and your people want a video closing, they need to be aware that that might not be an option for them, and we can make other arrangements. And with regard to any kind of divorce proceedings, that sort of thing, talk to those divorce attorneys, find out what that specific court is doing, what they're hearing, what their timelines look like, because there definitely, even if they're open, could be significant delays. And probate courts generally, I was looking at Cobb yesterday, they are doing things by appointment only. So they're still functioning, but as with everything, it's just taking a little longer than we're used to. So pre-planning is the best advice I can give. Start early, get your questions answered early so you can take the steps needed to be ready for closing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right.
Okay.
Karlene and Kim?
Hi. Okay, we're going to now introduce our wonderful lender, John.Bohannon, who we miss, and he'll tell you about the book that you need, what you need to do for this month. But anyway, here's John.Bohannon.
Hey, everybody. I'm John.Bohannon. I think I know everyone on the screen, or at least I've seen you. So appreciate everybody joining us today. And I'm with Kim. I'm hoping that maybe just one more month of this and we get to see the whole picture of everybody instead of just from like the face up.
Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch. I know, the Brady Bunch look. Yeah. So a couple things I always like to give some updates on the industry and on just what's going on. And I'll first start with some company updates because our company had some really exciting news. And it's this: this is our biggest news, and this is bigger than what would seem like the biggest news, in my opinion, is that we're now servicing 100% of all of our loans that are FHA, VA, USDA, and conventional. So the only thing that's left out of that is jumbo loans. And we never serviced the jumbo loans anyway, because those come from like a Chase or a SunTrust or a Wells Fargo or whatever. So this is a really big deal because in the past, we would sell about 80% of our loans, and that would limit our ability to lend on certain guidelines. And over the last month, that all changed. So now we make our own guidelines up, and we've always stuck fairly close as we could to the most lenient guidelines. But just to give an example, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, banks were starting to require, and I'm not going to name names, but much higher credit scores, much higher income calculations in order for people to be able to qualify, higher income levels, lower debt levels, debt to income ratios. We actually lowered ours 2 weeks ago. So our minimum credit score now for any loan is a 620. And we very much follow what the underwriting software system says we're allowed to do. So that's what we call the desktop underwriting. And that's on all of our loans. So because we're going to service the loan, our hands aren't tied to what some other investor that we're going to sell it to is going to do. So where we get our money to lend from is straight from the federal government now. So we don't have problems with overlays, which is a more stricter version of an underwriting guideline. So I'm super excited about that because we can serve more people and help you be able to get your borrowers to the closing table better now than ever before. So I'm just really, really excited about our ability to do that. And that's my biggest news. As far as, what our company's doing, we're actually putting ourselves at more risk to do that because of the whole forbearance, mortgage forbearance that's still available for people. We could close a loan and have somebody say, okay, I want the 6 months forbearance. And we would do that. So anyway, that's just, I'm super excited about that because we want to give you guys tools to help you guys put more deals together and not have to turn people away or send them from lender to lender to lender. And maybe you get people that are already, that's already happened to. Just remember us if that happens, because we're here to help you get the loans closed. And we're still closing loans in 30 days or less. During the whole pandemic, we didn't miss one single closing date on our team. In fact, we've moved some closing dates up
early.
by a week, in some cases 2 weeks, because we were able to get the appraisals done quickly, things like that. Underwriting right now is running a day and a half from whenever I submit a loan to when I get the approval. So we actually hired over 100 new employees as a company in the last 6 weeks, and we're getting ready to hire another 100 this in the next 6 weeks. So we're growing, and we want to be staffed up and ready for whenever the market is gonna get hot for you guys. We want to be ready to go so that you're able to get your commission checks rolling again and be able to just start being able to have business as usual and not be waiting on the lender. So we're trying to stay ahead of the curve and keep you guys always at the front of our intentions. With all that being said, it was last month was a record month by over $2.7 billion, and it was $1 billion more than our best month ever in the last 12 years. We served over 9,500 families, and it put us in the top 10 of all national lenders. So we're really excited about that. And what our company does, and y'all may know this already, but we're building schools and churches with that money. We've built one charter school in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're starting a second charter school in Charlotte, North Carolina with the money that our company, some of the money that our company is generating. We're reinvesting it back into the communities where our companies live and work. So we're really excited about that. A couple other things, just as far as I've had other clients come to me that had their loan fall apart somewhere else. We have, because we've hired more people, we have the bandwidth to close what we call a rescue loan. That's where it's already under contract and another lender dropped the ball or just couldn't get it done. We can close those loans in about 21 days from the day we get everything. In some cases, it could be 2 weeks, but we're going to keep it to no longer than 21 days because we want to keep the deal together instead of you guys having to, have the contract extended and the seller might not be able to do it or the borrower not be able to do it. So we're prioritizing the purchases first and refis are last. They always will be. And our employees are all able to work from home, which is why we haven't had any disruptions in our service. We did that a year ago where we did it for inclement weather, not knowing there'd be a pandemic happening. But we pretty much work, we don't work 24/7, but somebody at our company is always working. I get emails at 2, 3 in the morning the next day. So I'm super fortunate to have that kind of service. I want to touch on appraisals for just a minute and give you some turn times. So a standard appraiser, non-VA, we'll say that takes about 7 days. VA takes about 8 days. And now if somebody wants, we can request a drive-by appraisal. So if they're concerned about an appraiser coming in their home, the VA, FHA, and conventional will all allow for a drive-by appraisal. I'll say this, I haven't yet had anybody request that, but and I just need to say this, as awesome as that is, the appraiser cannot make adjustments for the condition of the property. And that's where the appraisers have the subjectivity to be able to add value or take away value. So you could, if you decided you want to do drive-by appraisal, you could end up with a little bit lower value just because the appraiser is trying to protect themselves from not being able to go inside the home. But in the case where you feel like the value is really strong and the borrower does not, or the seller doesn't want somebody in their home, a drive-by appraisal is completely acceptable. So just wanted to point that out. I will say this, as far as appraisals go, I've only had 2 low appraisals in the last 60 days, and they were both VA appraisals. And VA has historically been more inclined to do a low appraisal. There is a rebuttal process. So one of those deals we were able to save with the rebuttal process. The other one, we're not sure. We're still in the middle of negotiating that one out, but it can go either way on that. But I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention. Also, values overall are still really strong. We haven't seen a wave of foreclosures or wave of short sales. We don't even see one starting to build. So, you know, I don't right now feel like that's a threat. Could change, hopefully it won't, but that's kind of what's happening on the housing front.
We've just been encouraging people when they contact us about forbearance, like as much as possible to make their mortgage payments, because we want to save the lending industry, because the lending industry supports you, supports so many like builders, so many people. So we're just encouraging people, you know, if at all possible, please make your mortgage payment. Like,
Yeah.
we realize it's not for some people, but it's really important to protect the industry, because that money has to come from somewhere. But
Yeah.
our buyer and our borrowers, when they call us, we're thankful of that relationship, and you guys have that too with your clients, where they come to us, all of us, for guidance in that area. So
Yeah.
and we're happy to help if your clients have questions about that. Like,
Yeah.
even if we didn't serve them and you need someone answers, let us know. We have 4 people on our team who can help you with that.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because we know that sometimes you guys will be the first ones that they'll call and ask about a forbearance plan. If your clients call you about that, or I'm even recommending agents to call their future sellers, the people that have said, hey, I'm thinking about selling, and be proactive and bring up the conversation, because the banks are not giving accurate information to their clients. And they're not telling, they're talking to somebody that's not a mortgage lender. They're talking to somebody that's in customer service, that's kind of pretty much reading off a script. And they don't know what the qualifications are to get a new mortgage. So this has been a really important point, is that mortgage forbearance is not the same thing as a guaranteed ability to get another mortgage. So the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and HUD guidelines all say right now that if somebody is getting mortgage forbearance, we have to count that as a late payment or a skipped payment, which that automatically sets them up to have to wait 12 months to get a new mortgage. So I would encourage you guys to make sure you're telling your future sellers about that, so that they can make an informed decision. And they need to talk to somebody that's a mortgage lender, not the person that's just at the other end of the customer service line that works for a mortgage company, because it can be really confusing. Telling them, yeah, go ahead and skip your payments, but they're not telling them, hey, it may make you have to wait a year to be able to get a new mortgage. So please, please, please be proactive on that, because that can really impact your seller's ability to get another mortgage. Also, I'll say this, our company is seeing this kind of a mixed message. We came up with a plan that we're kind of restarting, that's called the Seller's Advantage. And this is where we'll give your seller a $250 credit. And I think there's some coupons in the office, but are there maybe, Karlene? If not, I can bring some by. Okay, but we'll give your seller a $250 credit on their closing costs if they'll apply with us before they list their home with you, or before they accept the contract. Either way, there's a tool to have the seller want to start the lending conversation before they get so far down the road and they get a contract on their home. So we'll do a $250 credit for the seller, and then we didn't want to leave the buyers out, so we'll do it for the buyers also. We'll do a $250 credit for the buyers to encourage them to go ahead and get pre-approved before they start and write a contract on a house. So please encourage them to do that. It gives you another tool to get them to do something that will help you and assure you of a really smooth closing later. And what's important for a buyer is because a lot of banks are not approving loans if the buyer's income has changed at all. And some people's income, especially that are in the medical profession, because a lot of the elective surgeries and dentist offices and commission people, right, even commission people, their salary is the same, but their commissions have gone down. And we're getting inquiries now about loans that aren't working elsewhere just because of their variable income, which is their overtime or their commission pay has been cut. Other banks are saying this looks really bad and we don't want to lend on that. We do, and we will lend on that. I have a lady now whose loan got cleared to close. She works at a physical therapy office, and we qualified her originally on more income, and her income dropped, and we're still able to get the loan closed, even though her income dropped. So just because somebody's income dropped doesn't mean that they're not able to buy. It just means we have to recalculate their income and help them qualify through that. So just wanted to point that out. Next, interest rates. This is like a really kind of a blessing that has come out of the pandemic, is interest rates are at or very close to their all-time lows. So just to give you guys some numbers, a 15-year fixed is about 2.8. That's really, really low. A 20-year is about 3.1. Then all of the 30 years are also about 3.1. So you guys, those are really, really low rates. And that was a great time, again, just to bring up the conversation with your past clients. If you call them and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to sell, then maybe you can help them prepare to sell later by switching to a 20-year loan. And the reason why I'm saying that is a lot of people don't know that a 20-year loan, they just think it's only 10 years shorter. Well, what happens is you skip the first 10 years of the 30-year fixed. And by skipping those first 10 years, it saves you 50% of the interest on that loan. So we're able now to refinance people to a 20-year loan. Their payment maybe changes $150 or $200 a month, but they're literally putting 50% more of their payment every month towards the principal. And that's substantial whenever they start to sell their home in a couple of years, because they built up so much more equity for a bigger down payment.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing a lot of people want to switch to a 20-year loan because they're planning ahead and not having to spend that much more money per month. So that's a really smart thing. And pretty much what we're seeing is anybody that has a 3.8 interest rate or higher will save thousands and thousands of dollars by refinancing. So in talking to them, if you're like, hey, what's your rate? And is anything over 3.8, they really need to talk to us about refinancing their loan, because it will save them a ton of money and give them a much bigger down payment whenever they go to sell their house in the future. So just wanted to highlight that for a minute. Also, Dana mentioned we have the branding in a pandemic call that's going to be tomorrow. Love for you guys to come out. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. And we're going to talk about the things that you can use social media to help build your brand and help keep awareness in front of people, and find the buyers and sellers that are out there. They're still using Facebook. They're still using all of the social media to go out and find out what's going on. And Lord knows, like I've had to stop reading some people's, because there's all the pros and cons of open and close the economy, and man, and there's great arguments on both sides of that, but I'm super interested about the people that are out there looking. So there's a lot of people out there looking to buy and sell, and we want to help you guys do that. Also, I have a couple of little tips that I wanted to share with you guys. First is there's an app that I know a lot of people that are have family in other countries use. And I had to load it up on my phone because I was trying to communicate with somebody in Germany, but it's called WhatsApp. And I really encourage you guys to load that on your phone, because it has a video, like a FaceTime, but it's a 360. If your phone is capable of that, you can do a 360 showing on your phone with WhatsApp. And I've had several real estate agents during the pandemic sell houses to borrowers who are out of state. In their big houses, you guys, and the people write the contract and then they come in for the home inspection. I've had that happen to me twice in the last 10 days. So just like the video closings at real estate offices are a thing, video showings and video contracts are also a thing. And I just encourage you guys, if you feel safe to go out and show property and go in people's homes, please take advantage of that app, because it is an absolute game changer. for being
John?
people. Yes.
Kim's 8-year-old has known about WhatsApp for a long time.
WhatsApp is awesome, you guys. I'm telling you, it is like this. It is the best secret. Now, there's tools out there that companies want to sell you that they're great too, but this one's free, and it automatically links to Facebook. It will load all of your people in there. Yes.
Okay.
No?
Just a
Yeah.
couple things. If you are working with buyers, you absolutely may not put on social media the insides of a house that is not yours. You guys, you cannot do that. It is only the listing agent and listing broker that has permission to put those photos out for the world. Do not put buyer showing pictures on any social media if you do not have that written permission. Please don't do that.
Thanks for that reminder. Right.
Do that. So thank you.
Dana don't want to pay the legal fees, y'all, because they are real. They happen. I think it was somebody put Justin Bieber's house up and got sued. So don't do that. And do ask for permission if you're going to do a video showing. You know, people have cameras in their houses. And one of my agents got permission, and then the owner videoed her videoing their house on WhatsApp. But it is a great tool, and you can still get out there and make deals happen. The other thing I want to highlight for a minute, which I think this was really a great idea, is to do a pop by during this time, because people are home. And people are kind of lonely, honestly. You know, you just don't see people that you know, and even if they're in the grocery store, you know, they have the mask on. So I encourage you guys to do some pop-bys. It can be something super simple, a little bag of candy, or just some little memento, or even a thank you note. Just to go by and say hello to somebody. You have a chance to really touch somebody's heart in a special way.
And we had an agent do that where he came by our house recently, rang the doorbell, and we opened it up, you know, and then he just steps down a couple steps. It's not like he's, you know, he's still distancing. He's like, hey, you know, I just came by to say hi. I missed you guys, and I'm gonna leave this candy right here for you in a bag. You know, there was still that like safe distance, but yet it was fun to see somebody that we knew that came to the door.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a better time to do a pop-by. You know.
Okay, so you say, so in general, you're saying go eat at Popeyes?
Popeyes.
Just saying. I like chicken.
I think that if you brought them Popeyes, they would probably like that.
You should bring them some Popeyes.
Thanks for that, Kim.
That's awesome.
There's a marketing
There's
idea.
a marketing idea.
John.
Popeye. Or it could be a can of spinach. I could just keep going, but a can of spinach with Popeye on it.
John, we want to ask a question. To get that 15-year loan at 2.8, what does your credit score have to be? Or the 20-year loan at 3.1? Like, what does your credit score need to be?
It just needs to be over 700.
Over 700.
Yeah.
And those are without points. You'll see things advertised that say like 2.3.
Yeah.
But when you look in the fine print, we get those letters all the time from Quicken and other things where it's like, you know, you'll see like all the points you're going to pay for that over here.
Yeah.
So when we say that, that's your
par rate,
yeah,
or what I call regular unleaded, you know, because when you have gas, you have regular, mid-grade, and premium. This will be like your regular unleaded version of the interest rate. But you can always go lower. Like, you know, like Christina was saying, you could go to like 2.7 or 2.6, but that, you know, the lower the interest rate goes, the more you have to pay.
and John does a cost analysis with that with people to show them. He has a spreadsheet that shows them what that cost is versus savings.
Yeah, and where you break even, you know,
cool tool.
you have to.
That.
Yeah, I have a great tool. It's a little one page. It's not even a one page. It's a little grid where it shows this is your monthly payment, this is how much you're saving, and then this is how much you save over the life of the loan, and then where your break even point is. And it's just super easy. So love to share that with you guys if y'all would like to see it.
Okay. Well, John, you may also want to mention about people going and printing out their playbook this month.
Yes. So we uploaded the playbook, or Christina uploaded the playbook yesterday to the Rockstars page. And then we also send it out via MailChimp. And you guys can download that and print it out. And there's your playbook for what to do if you're looking for, okay, how can I build my business affordably? It's got scripts in there for,
quickest way is to go to the Rockstars.
The Rockstars
I literally
page,
put it
okay.
up there yesterday, so
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the.
Yep, so it's
that
on the
page.
Rockstars page. Yep. And you don't have to print out all the pages. You can just print out the ones that you like. Thanks for reminding me about that, Karlene. And
John,
guys,
we have a question about, does Movement Mortgage do commercial loans?
Where's our?
we have a commercial loan
where's our
department.
chat? There
I
we go.
personally, I don't do them, but I can get them to one of our top commercial loan agents that will do that for you. So yes, if you need a commercial loan done, call me, text me, send me a whatever email, and I'll be happy to get you in touch with somebody that can help you with it. Any other lending questions?
If I don't know if you can see the chat or not, but
I just turned it on. Yeah, he didn't have it open.
I didn't have it on.
yeah,
Yep.
he's got a question. Why don't you guys connect after the meeting? There is a commercial loan that he's got a deal on hold because the current bank backed out.
Backed out. Okay, sure.
Connect
Sure.
after the meeting and see if you can save that deal. There's his phone number. Enon.
Okay, got it. Oh, we'll
All right,
jot it down.
Enon. John and Christina will call you after the meeting. Good job.
And is there anything that you
3
all-
million, John.
Is there anything all that you all, any other things, how can we support you? Is there any ways that, you're thinking like, yeah, we just want to know how we can support you, and that's this is the best way for us to find that out from you guys personally. What are the things you're finding or questions you're having or things that you need?
Well, again, I just want to interject because it does have to do.
Give me a buyer.
There are some, of course, nobody knows. All of this is uncharted territory, but right now there seems to be some thought that once everything does open back up, there might be another wave of furloughs or job loss pending the public's reaction to going out in public and going to restaurants and going to various retail shops and things like that. So again, I mentioned this at the beginning, but I don't know if everyone was on. The GAR special, the revised COVID-19 special stipulation still does not cover a job loss or a furlough. Instead of writing that in as a special stipulation, the easiest way to address that is just try and negotiate between a buyer and a seller to extend the financing contingency for a buyer as long as possible, preferably through closing date if the seller will go for it. Additionally, you can write a special stipulation and Christina will help you. Hi, Christina. Or I can help you with writing a special stipulation that says something to the effect of, if all the contingencies have expired and buyer is no longer able to get their loan due to a job loss or furlough, buyer and seller agree upon termination to split the earnest money, 50% going to buyer, 50% going to seller, or something like that. So in other words, in advance, negotiate the disbursement of the earnest money in anticipation of a potential job loss or furlough, especially depending on the borrower's line of work. John, Christina, any comments on that or anything that you guys are seeing with any of that?
Well, that's a ongoing conversation that we have with our borrowers. And if there's any possibility of a loss of income, we're addressing that right up front, because we can see who has variable income and we know which industries are mostly affected and we know the ones that are not. So we're addressing that right up front with them and asking them to tell us if there is any income changes. And then if there are, then we submit the loan back to the underwriter to get those changes underwritten during that initial financing period. If we find out about them later, we still are required to, the borrower is required to disclose it to us, at least verbally, because we asked them 5 days prior to closing, have you had any income changes? And we ask either the borrower or we ask their employer, whichever one. We have 2 guidelines that allow us to ask either one. And if the answer is there are no changes, then we accept that, and then we ask them one more time right before closing. So we're being, I would say, lenient on it, not requiring them to give us a new pay stub, but we're doing it in good faith because we want the borrower to be able to close. And if the borrower is being truthful with us, then we feel very good about it. We're not, so just so you guys know, pay stubs are good for 60 days from the closing date. So if we get a pay stub 60 days before closing and the loan still supported by that, as long as they don't verbally tell us anything different and we ask them that, then we'll take their word for it. So that's what we're doing to protect them and to protect ourselves. If somebody wants to be dishonest, they always can. I've had people make fake pay stubs that had a job because they didn't think they were getting paid enough before all this happened. So there's always that, but we feel like as long as we've documented according to what the guidelines require us to, and we go above and beyond to ask these questions, then we feel good about it.
And we try to get those little areas of cushion on every loan. Like we had somebody recently who went out and bought a car and didn't tell us, even though we've told them not to do things like that. But I'm like, it's okay. I told her, I'm like, it's okay because his alimony was going down by $500 on May 1st. And I knew that, but I qualified him on the higher alimony payment. We kind of try to foolproof things and leave buffers in or keep them at a lower DTI, like 35 to 40 DTI. So there's room for oops things to happen. We're constantly kind of like you do with your kids, you go in front of them, put the bumpers up, right? And the little plastic things in the electric sockets. I don't do that. We're constantly looking for those ways to have buffers in our loans so that it allows for oops kind of things. So
good point. Anybody else?
We just wanted to know, John, we faxed our things to Longhorn, so can you be there by the time we
Yes, I say yes to that. Let's go.
Longhorn is open.
We need to go. Seriously.
You're right.
The first 6 people, because I think you can only have 6.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
So
we'll have to
there's
sit
3 right
opposite
here.
ends of the restaurant. Hello, we'll have to text each other.
Or John and I just eat all day and we'll just eat all day
Yeah.
and then we'll just have 2 to 5.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. At this time, I'm going to introduce, does anything else from you, John? Anything else before we introduce Andrew?
No.
Okay.
Yes, I've got one thing. There's in the chat, John, making sure sellers know the consequences of forbearance on their mortgage payments. Christina also had an agent who had a potential buyer who decided to forbear on payments. And when he spoke to a mortgage broker, be pre-qualified, found out he couldn't get pre-qualified. Just a little comment on that, John, would be great. And Christina.
Yeah. So, Christina, I think what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing here, and you correct me if I'm wrong, was somebody called their bank and said, can I do forbearance? They were told yes. And then they called another lender to try to get a mortgage and were told you can't qualify now. Okay, so that's exactly the scenario that I was talking about, is the one bank that says, yes, you can do it, is only answering if it's legally allowed. But they're not the one who's going to lend the money to them to buy the next property with. And that person is the one that needs to be brought into this loop and find out if they're going to allow it. And right now, the federal government is saying if somebody takes mortgage forbearance, that counts as a late payment. And a late payment on a loan is considered not, that person is not worthy to get another loan until they've made 12 months of payments in a row on time.
Yeah, because we're kind of thinking, right, like somebody, unless it's like a medical emergency, some extending circumstance, we would hope they'd have those reserves in the bank to make the payment, that they're showing that they're being financially responsible when they're getting the loan or preparing to get a loan. Right. We've also had
this agent had been working with someone, showing them properties, getting them pre-qualified, and had wasted her time because her client had gone ahead. So just like I would think from the outset, agents starting with buyers need to say that.
you need
As
to
well
yeah.
as
get them
with their
pre-approved. And
sellers.
so many of you do that, and we
Yeah.
appreciate you doing that, where they come to us first. We have a team basically, so it's myself and John and Brandy and Jackie. So I look at the loan, John looks at the loan, Brandy looks at the loan. Literally, like, before we submit it, you have 3 people that are putting their eyes on the loan to look for any problems, potential holes, or when you've got that kind of backup, we catch those things up front. We're not just going, hey, yeah, sure, whatever, you're good. Yeah,
Right.
sure, you're good. Writing pre-qual loans like willy-nilly. And then you're wasting your time. Absolutely.
Right.
And
Yeah.
as a side note, student loans are also an issue. People, some of their student loans like are going automatically into like this,
forbearance.
where you don't have to pay it. Like my son was like, oh, hey, like they let me know I have to pay my loan. And I'm like, no, you do need to pay your loan. Like, so not because it's not allowed, but because the potential for incorrect reporting is so high. And that's another thing on forbearance and skip student loans payments. It's the government. So a lot of times the reporting is in error and wrong. And we all know how hard it is to get something off of a credit report. Once it's been put on a credit report, it's so hard. And that's another reason why we tell people, just please make the minimum payments, because it's so easy to have a blemish on your credit and then so hard to get it off. And we've sent a lot of people, we have a credit repair people that we work with, have a relationship with, they give reports to us and you monthly, but it's a good question, Christine. It's also about the reporting too. It's just can be in error, down the road.
Yeah. So take advantage of that the seller's credit that we're doing, the seller's advantage for $250, and see if you can bribe your seller to apply with us. And the buyer too, because we want to catch that stuff before you guys spend your valuable time and energy showing somebody around that, that thought they talked to a lender who was not actually qualified to give them the right answer on if their forbearance payment still allows them to get a mortgage, which right now it doesn't.
Because we just spoke to a maximum agent this week who has been showing people around, and we pulled this gentleman's credit and it was like a 560. And she's like, are you kidding me? Like this other company's been telling him he's approved for $400,000. And I'm like, he didn't just get to be a 560. No. He's been a 560 for like a year. And so, because that comes back to personal relationship and accountability that they don't have with you as agents, that we really value our relationship with all of you.
For sure. Awesome.
Okay, is that it then?
I think so.
Okay, well, we're now going to speak to our wonderful Andrew, that's a builder and an agent, and he's here in our office, and he always answers a lot of questions for us and helps us, especially on the builder side. So here is our wonderful big man, Andrew.
What's up, Andrew?
Hey, guys, how are y'all?
Good.
Hey, so, something that kind of came out of this deal was, at least for me and my realtor clients, was doing the virtual tours on not just the ones that FMLS does of stitching the pictures together, but there's actually a lady that I know, and if anybody wants her contact information, just text me or email me. But we do the virtual tours where she goes through with the video camera and does the ceilings, and you can walk through and check it all out. And it's been great for the social distancing and all that kind of stuff. And I still think it's going to be great going forward, just because people are so, some people are just all out there and I don't care, I'll get it, whatever. And other people are very tentative. And so I think this is going to be with us for a while. So it's a good tool to go ahead and just, use, just like, staging or whatever else, having you guys involved and from the beginning, right? With, the credit and all. You want to get everybody on the team concept right off the bat. And I think this is another thing just to add to it. But it's a fantastic deal to where somebody can come in and look at the house and not just your picture stitched together, but literally moving around and check out walls, doors, trim, flooring, whatever, up, down, and do a virtual tour. And I think it reduces the it probably helps the buyer's agents as well as reduces the people coming into the house, because they can look and go, okay, I can, eliminate this one from my list. And it's fantastic. And I've had really good response. And several agents in the office have done it and they like it. And it's literally only about 150 bucks, I think, is what it is to have her come in and film it and do it. So well worth the effort, the time, the money, and I think just a great time to introduce this kind of thing to the market. And plus, you know, like I said, it gets rid of the looky-loos, and I think the people that are serious about coming, you know, so now your showings are more effective. So, but I'm happy to share her information. She's fantastic. She's responsive. And so if anybody wants that.
And I would like to add that we also have a vendor, Carrie Smith. In fact, she's on here now with, I never pronounced that name right. Echelon Services. She and her company, they do a fantastic job, and she is also one of our vendors. Okay, so just want to point that out there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Andrew. What are you seeing with new construction? Are you seeing slowdowns, delays, both in terms of buyer traffic and materials? Are materials coming from overseas? What about construction workers? Those kinds of issues. What are you seeing? You're more keenly tied to new construction. So we're the insider scoop.
Yeah, thank you, Dana. That's a great question. So since this whole thing is kicked off, the construction side, both the new construction and the renovation has been, I've actually increased during the COVID deal. It's been interesting. The real estate kind of slowed down a little bit, but the construction, the new construction is fine from a labor pool standpoint. I'm having no issues whatsoever. From a material standpoint, I'm really having no issues. There was the logistics of purchasing it, but my professional suppliers were no problem. They were dropping it off. The Home Depots, the Lowe's, these kind of folks, Floor and Decor, the more retail outlets, got a little challenging with the social distancing, but really no issues. They pivoted and were very effective in keeping their business going and tying that together. So new construction is great. I actually have about 3 or 4 clients that want new custom homes built, as well as my neighborhood and ball ground, and renovations are continually coming in. So that side has been amazing. I mean, really amazing. And yeah, no real issues, to be honest with you.
Andrew, we have a question about permits. What about pulling permits and getting those approved?
The great question. And so, and look, so without knocking the government too much, they're always challenging, right? So that's been probably the bigger issue. But again, those folks are even pivoting and doing things through email and their review process. They've even outsourced it sometimes on the permit review. It's adding some time to it, but we're still able to get it. And their inspections are a little bit extended, but you have just to plan that in. But really, it's still going. In fact, Roswell is one of my challenging municipalities, and I just got a CC on a project not too long ago. And so not bad. I mean, they're working from home and working it out and doing like most people. It's just a little bit extended.
I have a question to Andrew. In price ranges, I mean, is everything that's being built now like start at the like high 3s and 4s and on up? I mean, is there any?
It's a good question. No, actually, my neighborhood and ball ground is below 3. However, your new construction, part of the things have scaled in a way to where now it's just not profitable to build under 2. So you're not seeing even small builders like myself. We're in the mid 2s and up. So there are, and I have a neighborhood in ball ground. It's Old Mill subdivision, and I just sold one for $275. Was listed for $279. So, you know, the price, there was not a reduction. The price was stable. It went off without a hitch in terms of closing, just like, you know, like they're doing at Hartman and everywhere else. You know, they're working it out and making it happen. So things are still moving. They're still fine. I haven't seen any issues on the renovation, new construction side, custom home building side. It's all been pretty good in terms of that. So I'm a little disappointed I didn't get a COVID vacation.
And Cindy Corona adds that there's a lot of incentives that a lot of builders are offering to real estate agents. So thank you for that. And Christina from Hartman Law, we have people asking for your contact information, please.
My contact information is, my email is Christina@hartmanlawfirm.com. And my phone number is 770-284-1111. And I didn't know if that request for contact info was for me or maybe for Carrie. So you might want to give yours too, Carrie.
Carrie's information, I'll give out Carrie's phone number real quick. If you wanted to talk to Carrie about virtual tours, or her phone number is 770-378-7484. That's 770-378-7484, and that's for Carrie that has Echelon Services. Am I saying that right? Okay. All right. She does great work. I'm sorry I don't pronounce the name of her company very well, but she does really great work. So anything else from you, Andrew?
No, ma'am.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add, or questions or anything? We do have our giveaways. So Dana, we have 6 prizes today. So 1 through 11.
11.
11. Monica. Okay. Okay, Monica is, okay. Next one.
9.
9. Andrew. Okay. Yep. Okay, next one. Okay. Okay, what's the next one?
3.
3. Cindy Burnt. She won last month. Okay. And
6.
6 is that would be Lawrence McKay, because Lawrence, that's Lawrence. Okay, so that's 4, and then 2 more.
1.
Ava Cooper. Okay, and 1 more.
10.
10. Pam. Hey Pam. So she won a prize. Okay. Alrighty. Well, they will be here at the office with your name on them. Okay. And I really look forward to seeing everybody next month. Is there anything else before we leave with prayer?
I just have one final thing. As the state is opening up and people are out and about at restaurants, waiting in line outside of restaurants, at the nail salons, at the hair salon, just in general, there is a huge, wide variety of opinions regarding the maintenance of social distancing, regardless of the governor's executive orders or not. Just remember, I'm not telling you what to do in your personal life, but in your professional life, please be cognizant that there are a variety of opinions on what people should or should not do. Number 1. Number 2, you are not going to change anybody's mind. Number 3, just please remember, when you are interacting with your co-op agents, with your clients, with your lenders, with your closing attorneys, with your brokers, with your colleagues, really the place for the discussion regarding your feelings of the state opening up and what's going on. So please be mindful, be courteous, be kind, and please be respectful to one another. And you're, like I said, you are more than welcome to have those conversations, but just remember, when you are in a professional situation and discussion versus a personal one, and you never know if you could lose a client because of something that really has nothing to do with real estate.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay, Carrie, were you wanting to say something? Because I saw you pop up on the screen. Did you want to
Oh,
say
yes.
something, Carrie?
Yes, I just wanted to say real quick, piggybacking on what Andrew was saying about those virtual tours, that he has someone that can take those videos. We can offer the agent branding of that content, so we can get that prepared for social media as well, to where it's actually agent branded and not just your video, as well as agent branding in general, logos, email signatures, building your social media pages if you not had all those built. So just offering that as along with listing coordination, contract to close. So we help agents in a variety of ways, and no task is too small or large, and it's all agent centered, meaning whatever the needs of the agents are, that we can build a plan that'll work best for your needs. So just give us a call if anyone has any questions as far as that goes. We'll be happy to help.
Okay, thank you so much, Carrie. And really quickly, Cindy Corona posted that she's got 2 new listings. Does anyone want to share quickly about their listings? Because this is our sales meeting. So does anyone want to share quickly about any new listings they have? Okay, Andrew wants to.
All right, I have a listing. It's 311 Victory Commons Overlook in Ackworth. We just lowered the price. It was $279, which I think was well justified, but given, you know, the situation, that we've dropped it to pick up more showings and hopefully move it quicker. So it's $275. It's a great area, great schools, a beautiful home. So check it out, 311 Victory Commons Overlook.
Okay. Does anyone else? Cindy, she's typing, but does she want to talk?
She may not. She may,
okay.
Maybe like mine.
Hers is Gardens at Harmony. I do not have microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Cindy Corona has listings, and Cindy, type it back so I can see it. Well, just pull up Cindy Corona on FLMS. 128 Bergenia, Bergenia Way. Virginia, anyway, just pull her up and you can find her listings, okay? Okay, is anything else from anybody? Oh, her listing is a ranch with a basement. So people that need a ranch, that's really good. That's Cindy Corona. Okay, is anything else from anybody? I sure do miss seeing everybody. I really do, and miss just, you know, the wonderful things that we do at the office. I miss everybody. But we don't have Howard Brummel here today, so I'm going to call on John.Bohannon to pray us out. Is there anything else before we leave, before we go? I do want to say to Cindy Burnt, I really like the painting job you've been doing on your cabinets. Cindy's been busy. She's really taken advantage of this time that she's been having to be sheltered in. Okay, John?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we will pray. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for the opportunity to come together. And Lord, thank you for our great nation. Lord, thank you for all of the leaders that lead us at a local level and at a state level, Lord, and at a national level. Lord, we pray for the prosperity of our country and the prosperity of Maximum One and the prosperity of each agent on this phone call, and even the ones that are not here. Lord, I just pray that you would bring in the borrowers and buyers and sellers to them that need their help and that will be greatly benefited by their professionalism. Lord Jesus, I just thank you for the opportunity to pray and to worship you. Lord, we love you and we bless your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Everybody have a great, great week, a great day. And about your mothers, don't forget, I'm going to see my mother. I'm leaving Friday. I went and had a COVID test just to make sure that because my mother's 90, and I went and had that test done. I was negative, which I knew I was. But anyway, I did it. But Sunday is Mother's Day. If your mother's alive, honor her. Okay? All righty. Love you guys. Love you all.